Welcome, security professionals. Once again, it is my pleasure and privilege to bring to you another very informative, very educational, and very professional subject which is being presented by ACE security professional. You have already been benefited by his very lively discussion in recently held seminar by International Council for Industrial Security, Safety and Management, ICI SSM. And on 10th May, Nachiket Vaje was one of the panelist speaker, and with his profound wisdom and his professional approach to the subject, he made great impact. Today also, he is going to discuss some subject which is uh, not only catching up and demanding a lot of attention and professional approach by all of us. It also offers new challenges and new tools for security professionals to diversify and specialize in a very niche kind of activity. Let me first introduce Nachiket Shikantwaje. Welcome, Nachiket, and for the benefit of our viewers, I feel once again very happy to share with our viewers that he is currently head security administration and safety for Sandvik in Asia Private Limited, and he is based in Pune, Maharashtra. He is a board certified in physical security PSP from SS International, and with more than 14 years of progressive and extensive security investigation and administration experience in various businesses ranging from greenfield projects and critical infrastructure of national importance to corporate security domains with demonstrated experience in physical, investigative, and electronic security management with administration, facility management, fire protection, and life safety management. Today, I am very happy to share with all our viewers that there is another feather added to his already, well decorated hat, and that is certified fraud examiner. Am I correct, Nachiket? CFE.
Yes, sir. Correct, sir.
Okay, so he has two crowns already on display very prominently. He is BSc in physics, and this he has attained from MSU Maharaja Sayaji Rao. Uh, I think that is the full name of the university from Baroda. And this is followed by PGDBA HR from SCDL Pune. He has completed NCC C certificate from Naval Wing and has undergone para descent course from PTS Agra. He's previously worked with Mundra Port and SEZ Limited Mundra, Torrent Power Ahmedabad, L&T Jamnagar, Flint Group Vadodara, and Elcon Engineering Company Anand in various security and administrative profiles. So that is what Nachiket is in short, and the discussion which we are going to have is a very prominent subject. Nachiket, welcome on screen, and uh, I at this point share with our viewers that Nachiket is going to discuss event security, safety, and incident management for mega events. Today, our security professionals know that wealth creation is on upswing. As long wealth creation is not going to be declared illegitimate, then legitimate professional expansion for security professionals would be to cater to new events and opportunities which wealth creation will develop. More and more people are into profit making. They venture out for different activities, and for various reasons events are being organized. Such large scale events which were not even comprehended and imagined just 10 years back. But today we have mega events coming as regular event. I remember the first time there was about I would say 35 years back in Delhi there was a program, and I happened to be there as the audience, and I wondered that if once I go out for water or I go to urinal, I was scared that I will never go back to the same place. And if ever I go back to same place, I will never find the place to even stand there. So that was kind of mega events created, hype created, and chaos also created. Today we can't afford to have hype coupled with chaos. Hype is okay, chaos is not okay. So how to do management of such mega events and from security professionals perspective, because ultimately whether it is successful or whether it is unsuccessful, whether it is creating a lot of footfalls and eyeballs, or it is creating negativity and brand image gets uh, big damage, always it will boils down to what security was doing. In fact, security is referred for doing something or for not doing something when things go bad. When things are okay, successful, then there are many claimants. But security professionals pay heavy price when things go wrong. So everything comes from the perspective of security management, whether it is stage, whether it is traffic, whether it is crowd, or whatever it takes. So now I have made enough background, Shrikant. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this opportunity to discuss the takeaways that we have been doing since last few years now. Uh, Thanks to ICISSM to provide me this forum and Captain Kyagi, I'm really grateful for that. Just to add, I am currently working with Herbalife as a regional security and safety manager in India, and we do a lot of events. So so basically, when we talk about event security and safety awareness or incident management, there is very limited literature that is actually published, or if at all that is available, that is not readily, available over Google or searchable databases. If you see the Europe and US, there are strict regulations on how the crowd flow needs to be and how all arrangements needs to be and what all needs to be considered while planning an event and for securing the people who are attending that particular event. So in India there are regulations, but those regulations are not readily available. When we do a Google search or those guidelines are not available, or and these are basically made available through the commissioner offices from the various cities where the actual events are getting conducted. But again, those guidelines and those parameters vary from each state and each commissioner office as they share the guidelines. So what we felt was like we need to have at least a minimum framework which is which can be used readily by security professionals when they are looking at managing security and safety uh, for mega events. Now, when we talk about mega events, it's anything above 10,000 people attending throughout the day or for full day sessions like we do for training sessions or those kind of stuff. So so basically, what we have tried again, it is a very exhaustive and very elaborate planning that needs to uh, be put into this. But at the same time, I'm here trying to give out a basic framework, at least a minimum kind of a thing if done. It will ensure that events, the people who are attending those events are really safe and secured, and uh, there is no safety related issues that they may face. So we will be looking at how the event security planning process needs to be looked at, who are responsible for regarding the event security, the incident management timelines, how incident unfolds, what are the timelines that we look at, and how to manage the incident at the events if at all they occur. So again, the basic objective is, to provide a larger overview for event security and the best practices and the responsibilities. Now, these best practices are more or less taken from the European standards and the ISO standards, and appropriate references have been given in the relevant locations. We also need to understand, what are the wider incident management principles and the processes that are applicable to the events incident management process, and how to apply if at all an incident actually unfolds at an event. When so again, the question is why we need an effective security planning. Why effective security planning for an event is required. Now this is a most pertinent questions, and uh, you know it actually is a legal, it helps us to provide for the legal responsibilities, the organizer and the security department. Organization is actually responsible. Of course, the responsibility also lies with the venue management, and the venue where the event is happening, security head of that. So basically, there are legal responsibilities that we need to look at. We need also to follow the best practices. It Planning helps us to be proactive rather than reactive. So we have already taken into account what at least 80% of the things which can go wrong in an event. There is always a mitigation plan that is available, which can be activated in case something goes wrong. uh, Appropriate and reasonable security resourcing. So this is also again very important. Unless and until you have a plan, you will not be able to arrive on the numbers of the people that you actually require to secure and safeguard the event. It's not only securing the event, you also need to have a response mechanism wherein you need to understand from where all you will get the response force that is available at your disposal at the venue, and how they are placed. So that's why the event planning is again one of the very important step before the event actually even starts. And at the end of the day, it makes everyone's lives very easy. And yeah. So if you see at the timelines, so they can be divided into four components. One is information and intelligence. So basically, in this step, you need to look at, what is the location of the event, and how the venue is selected, and what are the numbers of the people who are going to come in, your contracting obligations with the venue, your site visits, open source assessments. So many times, all the venue layouts are actually available on the websites. You can have a look at those. You can understand what are the potential entry points, what are the emergency assembly points which are already earmarked in the venue, and all those things. So this is basically an information and intelligence gathering step, wherein you do a basic site visit to understand, how the events are being conducted. You liaise with the security head, the events manager of the venue. You take the insights from the past event they have managed and build upon that. So next comes the preparedness and the planning. In this, the agenda is being designed. What is the event is going to be all about? Who all are the type of people that are going to attend the event? All these information comes to you. Then you do the risk management, risk assessment. Like risk assessment terms of You now know the number of people that are going to attend, you know the venue, then you calculate, what are the potential threats that are applicable at the venue. It may be at the remote area, it may be at the heart of the city. So depending upon the location of the venue, you need to figure out how people are going to come into the venue, what is going to be the traffic congestion, is there going to be local traffic police intervention and pressure on the venue to take people in without security check or not, all those kind of parameters. So you need to look at all that. You need to uh, speak with different government teams, venue teams, and then you need to uh, start putting up a plan. You have not started actually the plan. You have started. You now have the basic things that goes into the plan at this stage. And then comes the resourcing. What is the budget? So at the end of the day, any event that is being organized by any corporate comes down to budget. What is the best quality manpower that is available in the area where the event is going to happen? Whether national agencies can fulfill the manpower requirement, how is the flow of the event? What kind of a guarding is required? 12-hour guarding, 8-hour guarding, 2 hour, two shift guarding, or event. What are the start time and end time of the event? Everything depends on that. So that requires you need to come up with the deployment plan. You need to come up with the numbers, and that's when budget is very important. Then you also need to know who are the people who are, supporting security. There are administrative teams, there are travel management teams who will provide the vehicles from your hotel to the venue and all those things. So those are also a key people who you rely upon. These are also the people who support you in case something goes wrong in terms like, you need to have a transport arrangement for evacuation of your executives who are attending. So these are the key people who comes. So you need to know who all are going to be on site, not only the security staff, but as well as the non-security staff. Who are the contractors you are going to select and why? So that is very important when it comes to why for justification of the budget, whether the contractor that you are going to select has an adequate experience in managing those kind of events that you are conducting. Those kind of are they capable of providing the number of temp staff that you are going to need, are they able to provide it on a timely manner? So all these factors comes into play when we talk about selecting the contractors. How is the venue security? Again, that is again very important factor because whether they are interfering with the security process that you have set up or whether they are supporting the security process, that plays a differentiating factor. Many times, what we have seen is there is a conflict between the event security that you have deployed and the venue security. So that has to be seamless. You need time to develop relationships with venue security and make them understand how and what your event flow is and how you are going to go about it. And last but not the least is the briefings and trainings. You need to prepare the plan. You need to break it down to smaller chunks in a way that it is understandable to the people who are actually implementing on the ground, which it can be a security guard or a security officer who may not have time to go through the entire booklets or the playbooks. So they need to know only the things that they are supposed to look at. Say, what are the type of credentials that people will be carrying, and what is the basis of entry for them into the event. So that kind of an information, the samples, how vehicles are going to be taken in, and everything. So these are the only things that security team needs to know. They also need to know the safety plan for the venue. So these are the briefings that you need to do in advance, and at least, if possible, at least 2 to 3 times before the actual event starts. And during the event, you need to ensure that the information and the briefing is done to them in a repeated and frequent manner. You also need to uh, brief the staff. They need to know how from where the entries are going to be, where are the people are going to come from, where the executive entries are, where the staff entries are. All those differentiating, when you gates, they need to know. They need to know the pathway. they need to know the evacuation plan, medical emergency plan, and the assets that are available into the venue to support any kind of a medical emergency or first aid requirements. So these are all very important considerations when it goes into planning. Now, this is just 60% of the thing done. So if we look at overall components, what all a security plan needs to, it looks like something like this. And each tab has to have an elaborate plan. So what is the, so basically it's like event basic. So what is event all about? Who are attending? Why it is being conducted, so you need to know this. So what is the risk assessment, crowd management plan, where the people are going to come in, what is the flow, what is the peak time when large number of people are going to be expected, is your security deployment, the security check process deployment are capable of handling that many numbers, especially during the peak time of 1 hour or half an hour just before the event starts. So that needs to be very, very elaborate. If uh, there is a requirement of additional equipment, you need to put that. If there is a need of additional space, you need to ask for it from the venue. You need to different you need to divide the people who are coming in at a single point of time. So basically you need to divide and conquer in this particular thing. And then there are how vehicles are going to be taken in, what is the access. There are events when corporate does it, they issue the credentials for delegates well in advance. In smaller events they do it at the registration help desk, but in mega events they have to do it in advance. So there can be different technology things that comes into play. Like we have been doing the QR code based entry, which is scanned, which has a photograph of the person who is attending. So there are different types. There is a printed credential, there is a QR code credential that are getting issued. So a lot of technology can be involved into these things. What is the access? So what are the two, if you're like to accommodate 10,000 plus people, you have to have a training hall which is large enough and which has multiple entry points. So what are the access control plans? What are the channeling requirements that you need to have, to ensure people do not push and push their entry into the training hall without proper without ensuring the credentials they're allowed to go into it. So all those things needs to be elaborated into this. Then again, security deployment, you need to drill down to day, night, and every day shifts, what are and where all the people will be deployed and how. Uh, and then you have to have a incident response plan. Now it includes incident management plan, medical plan. What if you need to do a lockdown or you need to do an evacuation? So evacuation can be a zone-wise evacuation or entire hall evacuation. So we will talk about it in later slides. Then you need to understand the capacity issues of the venue, whether attendees are rushing to stage or structural, how stage is built, crowd surge, what are the timelines when crowd is expected more in numbers, and all those things. You need to monitor, you need to surveil, or you need to have your people to surveil, to monitoring the crowd surge, especially during lunch hours or tea breaks. Those are the times when people, come out and crowd at a single particular area. That is the time when security intervention has to happen to ensure there is no, uh, I would say, stampede kind of a situation or crowd or crush injuries that can happen. That is the time when you need to look at and you need to be more on alert. Uh, you know, and most important is the crisis communication plan. So basically, you need to have small plans, dedicated playbooks made before the actual event even starts. So this is a very elaborate thing to do, and it takes a lot of time to plan and execute all these things. So now basically risk assessment contains, the purpose is to ensure that identifiable risks are assessed and appropriately mitigated, reducing risk to as low as reasonably practical. That is something that you focus upon while doing the risk assessment. Methodology, you can look at likelihood and impact of various threats that you uh, find out during your risk assessment, and the output is to minimize the risk and have a mitigation plan always made ready in case the threat is high and the mitigation measures may not work if they are not able to work. So you need to have that kind of mitigation plan handy for each identifiable risk, which cannot be reduced to negligible. We also need to have a crowd management plan again to ensure crowd flows do not increase the crush and stampede risk. This is very important when we talk about 10,000 plus people. Uh, Trying to gain entry in an hour, it's very difficult to check them, and it creates a lot of bottlenecks at various points and checkpoints, and that can lead to a push from the incoming people into the venue. So that is a very critical thing, and we need to deploy resources which are adequate enough to process the number that we are looking at, especially at surge period, which can be like 1 hour, and rest of the time they can be sitting idle. But that is something that we need to look at, either deploy from beginning or mobilize as and when crowd increases. So it depends on the type of event and type of thing that type of crowd that is going to come in. Yeah, so again, the best reference point for this planning in terms of flow and throughput calculation is given by the Green Book for sporting events. It is one of the go-to book for that. One can refer that and arrive on the throughput calculation using the security, equipments that people are supposed to pass through before their entry into the training, into the venue or the events. Now, what an incident management plan is. So basically, it provides a logistical and process framework for effective incident management. Again, this is based on ISO 22361 for crisis management, and it gives a good framework and methodology to do the planning, incident management planning. Just So it includes medical plan. Now, what is the purpose? The purpose is to have adequate, medical facilities available on site, which can cater right from basic first aid to serious medical emergencies. There is a tendency that in mega events there are certain category of people who can feel claustrophobic depending upon the temperature. Like if it is in hot summer, people can feel uneasiness, breathlessness. So you have to have a life-saving ambulances and medical desk on the side. The hospital assessment needs to be done. What is the capacity of the nearest hospital? Whether they are able to take in the mass casualty or trauma incidents. Uh, what is the numbers of the bed that they are having, and all these things go into play. So you need to have some dedicated medical resources, can be a life-saving ambulance or couple, can be a medical help desk with professional doctors or attendants, on to support any kind of an medical emergency that needs to be looked into and factored in. Now, what is the now lockdown or evacuation basically can happen in case there are scenarios like say fire or uh, so majorly events, if security process is done thoroughly, inside the event that can happen through fire or short circuits, and you need to then decide whether it is a localized evacuation or an entire hall evacuation or venue evacuation. So depending upon that, the incident management or evacuation plan needs to be built in, and adequate number of safe assembly points needs to be identified and marked in advance. Playbooks we have talked about. Now, responsibilities in event security again. Major responsibility is duty of care, and uh, depending upon the level, the of an organization, the responsibility varies. So now an organizer, which is organizing the event, the top executives are overall legally responsible for the business and anything that goes wrong into the event. The event organizer is basically someone wherein the delegation has happened and they are actually, planning and designing the entire event flow agenda of the event, and they are basically the owners for the budget control and everything. So this is the team which is in a senior management level, and they are doing day-to-day activities right from planning to everything for the event. Again, security, they are supposed to provide the guidance, advice, planning, and supporting the management wherever requested. If the security person is on site, I'm talking about from a perspective of US organizations where depending upon the number of attendees, the security person can be on site or can support the event from remotely. So again, that depends on organization to organization, but they are basically the people who take over in case any incident happens. Now, delegates or attendees can be held liable for their own action, for disobedience, and or for any action which has resulted in furtherance of the chaos. So they can be held liable. Uh, and again, outsourced security, which is there to control and support the plan and evacuation in case that needs to be taken. Now let's see at the very fascinating thing. I will take like 5 more minutes, sir. Just bear with me for this. This is very important factor which needs to be understood by everyone. Now, how incident happens? So there are basically we divide it into three: pre-incident, during the incident, and post-incident. Right. So these are the three things how an incident management timelines are divided into. And if you look at pre-incident, it's the events organizers, they are the owners. Basically, anything that flows is not that urgent, and information is easy to uncover. During the incident, the responsibility and the ownership of managing the incident gets transferred to on-site security team. They are the people who are supposed to manage the incident during actual happening of the incident. Urgency again is the highest. Information is cloudy. You will not get accurate information, and the due to the nature of the incident, the it changes very quickly. The situation changes very quickly. The moment it may happen that you receive an information that is already outdated at the time you received it. So that is where the expertise and experience comes into play. And post-incident, again, it's a legal insecurity. They owe the post-incident thing. They are already stretched because they have managed an incident and now they are into post-incident, phase. They are now information is like you need to investigate what, how, when, why, all those stuff. And now if you look at the pre-time incident, so basically it's the pre-event. You gather information, you gather intelligence, you prepare your plans and everything, and then there is a period of an early warning, and there is a period of a build-up just before the incident happens, and this is actually when event has already started and there are early signs, and that's why monitoring and surveillance of say for example stampede like situation. So you need to have a monitoring and surveillance done across the venue for any signs where the crowd is building up at any one location. So you need to look at that. You need to be on your toes to diffuse and divert that crowd from from building up at any one point of any one location. So these are very important factors. And then we get into actual incident. So when incident happens, there is a notification. You need to understand, then you need to activate the incident response plan, and you manage the incident somehow. And then this is again a very short time. If initial timelines of initial attempts of actual incident can go out of hand very very quickly and very very easily, and that's why uh, to I will say it like this: if you need to actually contain the incident, you need to be on the top of the situation and on the things right into the incident happening phase. And post incident, you need to investigate. You need to declare the incident as closed, learnings and updates, and again, true end to the incident. So that what happens when actually your investigation into the fact or the fact finding has already root cause analysis has already happened. So this is when actually your incident ends, and you come up with the learnings and recommendations when to ensure in next events these things do not happen. When an event is happening, so actually we look at what actions did you take. That is a review that is done if some incident happens during the event and why you did that. So if it is in accordance with your security plan, which is submitted at the time of taking permissions from the government and relevant agencies, it comes and saves you. If you have adopted you have adapted also depending on the situation, it saves you, but you have to have a structured plan in place which is accessible not only to the security team but to entire staff and the management team which is on the venue to support that, and they should be aware, and your security team should be aware about the incident management plan, and that's where the training and briefing comes in. uh, so there are the specific categories like near miss. We can always categorize any incident into near miss, an actual incident, critical incident, and crisis. So critical incident can be something like uh, you know uh, evacuation due to fire, or and crisis can be something like a terrorist attack where entire venue evacuation is required. Now, incident response, we to respond to any incident, we need to assess the incident, we need to communicate, and we need to, take action. So these are the three things that happens simultaneously and continuously during an incident. And these are, you need to have communication matrix, key, the booklet containing key numbers, key phone numbers or communication numbers for all the key people who are going to support you in any in managing the incident and controlling the incident. So that is very, very critical, and that has to be developed, before actual event happens. Now let's see what are the immediate actions during the incident. You need to gather information, you need to evaluate, you need to decide, and then you need to implement. So all these are again in a cyclic format. Each one depends on the other. So let's dwell more. So basically, during the incident, you need to know what has happened. What you need to identify the unknowns. You need to start gathering appropriate information. You may need to search out for local threat platforms like or international threat platforms like international SOS or social media or news or basically onset uh, uh, open source intelligence platforms. You need to monitor that and gather more information, because nowadays, people have a tendency to post live videos, and there may not be a security person at the actual site of the incident, but you may get certain information from looking at those videos, how it has happened and what triggered it. So this comes during the handy during the incident as well as post-incident analysis as well. So you need to identify, what the incident is all about and what kind of whether staff is impacted, or whether how many people are impacted because of this incident. So you need to gather all this data. Then you need to evaluate. Now, evaluation can be done on basically, you need to assess the information, develop into actionable incidents. What are the actionable points? What are the key takeaways that you need to address and what is the priority that you need to do. Then it comes on decision making. So, who all are harmed because of the incident and how to prevent the further harm. Who all are the stakeholders? What is the output? What are the legal obligations? What is the damage it can have on the reputation of an organization? You need to understand that as well, and then implement. So again, uh, articulate desired outcomes. You need to identify the boundaries. So there is certain things where law enforcement comes into play, where there is a certain and where the private security can support. So all those boundaries needs you need to be aware about it, and you need to have adequate communication process flows put in place in advance to support where the private security professionals cannot help. So those all are the things that you need to look at. And to I think, yeah, to summarize, uh, we need event security is important to fulfill legal duty of care responsibilities. Incident will still happen no matter what we do. Incident will still happen. We need we need to have plans in place. We need to have response mechanisms in place, because that is what will get at the end of the day scrutinized by social media or the law. So you need to have everything that is humanly possible identified. Every threat that can be identified may have a you need to build up a mitigation plan for that and have it handy and briefed to the staff who is actually going to be implementing those. Again, it comes down to the planning, and this is a structured process. uh, yeah, that's all I think I can finish in 30 minutes. It's a very elaborate subject, and it takes a lot of time on how to calculation happens and all those things. But in this given time, I wanted to give a basic structure, following which any security professional can plan their own events with more than 10,000 plus attendees in a very safe and responsible manner. Over to you, Captain Telisa.
Nichket, of course, it is not very easy and also not very possible to cover the entire subject in 45 minutes. But whatever has been presented and discussed by you is commendable because it gives us very good idea about what all would go into planning a mega event. And mega event is you have already quantified, and that kind of gathering is very easy to manage. Not all of them would listen to your direction, and if they listen to your direction, then they will challenge you, challenge your authority, and challenge your wisdom. If you say go to the left, they will ask why not right. They are not your subordinate. Most of them feel privileged because they might have paid exorbitant entry fees. So they feel privileged, they feel entitled, and they would challenge your all decision. So mega event is not very easy to plan. My question, a pointed question is that what are the technological help you get while deciding this type of event? Maybe a kind of forecast, maybe early warning system, surge of crowd, direction of people moving. Somewhere, seats are vacant and people are not going in that direction. They need to be channelized to that. Parking is going to be big problem, and how many slots are available once people drive through the parking lot and not finding any open space. Even going out of the parking lot at the time is big challenge. So what are the help, technological help you can think of which will come handy?
So, sir, again, it depends on the venue, and each venue invests differently in security technology. So there we have seen there are venues which gives a kind of a dashboard at the entry gates about remaining parking slots that are available and what is the location. We have also seen venues which are ill prepared regarding parking, and we have to deploy additional parking management team or security guarding team to park the buses or the vehicles that come in during the during the event. So it all again depends on the venue, because as an event organizer it is practically impossible to put in those kind of technological investments for 3 days or 4 days, and it is always difficult to have that readily deployed in 3 or 4 days of time as we do in other events. So it has to come down from the venue. And as far as camera systems are concerned, yes, we are now experimenting with the edge-based camera systems, which are plug and play kind of a thing, where in our command center we connect it and get the crowd search indicators on our mobile phones. We can assign the number, email IDs, and they will directly get those notifications, and we can divert and focus more in those areas. But at this point of time, those are in experimental stage, because again, as an organizer, we are hiring it out and connecting it to our command center. So not something that a venue is giving, which should be the case. As the case in European venues, they give you everything, an entire structure and everything. In India, it is still in development stage, and the venues which can handle these kind of crowd for mega events are really not that very, generally 2000, 3000 people can be managed in a hotel ballroom or those kind of scenarios. But when we look at the convention centers, they are still not big enough in India. There are very few which can manage 10,000 plus crowd. And still they are under construction. Right. So another technological part that we are looking at to identify the people who are attending is online registration and QR codes and dispatch of the kits. So basically, what happens is when a delegate pays some amount to attend the event, they expect some welcome kit or registration kit. So we basically have started to dispatch that to them, and we have started online registration wherein they can upload their photograph and generate a QR code. Now this QR code gets scanned in like 2 seconds per person for actually getting them into the seating areas, right? So this is visual things can be manipulated. QR code with so that's where the technology comes into play, and the throughput is very fast. In the recent one of the events, we have processed more than 15,000 people in an hour through
No,
use of this technology. Which,
Nachiket, QR code is okay so far as MIS generation is concerned. So many people registered and so many people present on ground. Uh, their identity, because these QR codes are either scanned through online scanner or handheld scanner, uh, which are somehow connected to Wi-Fi. Then only in real time you have MIS, that so many people who registered are at the venue, and
correct,
probably you can also make them restricted to a zone, identified zone. So at any time you know that zone A contains 1500 people, zone B has 2000 people, and zone C has only 100 people. So
correct.
this will be handy in managing uh,
Yeah.
traffic.
So yeah,
That is
so
one.
basically, yeah, Wi-Fi access point needs is a need. Wi-Fi access point is a must at all the scanning points. And the beauty is we were able to develop this technology in a way that it also works if there is a disconnect of Wi-Fi for say 5-7 minutes. There is always a disruption in Wi-Fi in mega events because people use their phones, live streaming, and everything. So tower congestion happens, and the technology works, and it pushes the data and into the system, and the people who are having access to the platform are easily able to find out how many actual numbers of the people are inside the venue at all the times. So yeah, technology is available, and it is very rapidly developing as well.
Another point I want to share for our viewers, that in my opinion, that today with video analytics, the range of video analytics which are available, CCTV system would be a proactive kind of tool in the hand of security manager to foresee and be proactive to that. One is crowd surge. Another one is some disruption taking place. Then there would be drones utilized, and they would be used for different reasons. Even when everything fails, drones can still be utilized for public address, right? So in emergency, they can be deployed for again variety of reasons. So today I feel that from my time when I attended Bruce Springsteen's show, mega show in Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium, which was elementary level of crowd management. It was just you push in 1,000 people inside the stadium, and after that management team had nothing to do. No snacks, no drinking water, no toilet facilities, no going out, and no guarantee of permitting back. उस टाइम तो wristband भी नहीं बने थे. That time it was not possible even to give the lane yard and your gate pass. So things have moved, but still, to have something like European countries have, during the soccer tournaments, that would still be nightmare for India. Things have come to that stage that many security agencies are already planning, because manpower is cheaper in India, and big prestigious event management companies want security personnel coupled with the right kind of training and tools and tackle to be used for mega event. So, Nachiket, you have done wonderful job for at least creating a kind of awareness that today, if anyone wants to diversify, whether it is security professional or security service provider, right now is the time for them to get ready and be ready for those events, because today India is at threshold of that changing times. The balance is tilting in favor of India, where many things will be India's initiative, and many big events will take place in India. I hope that with your presentation and your hard work and contribution, security professionals are better positioned to think about getting expert insight and be ready for such challenges. Nishket, again, as always, it is pleasure to thank you personally and professionally and officially on behalf of International Council for Industrial Security, Safety and Management. You have been immensely useful, and we look forward further interaction. Till then, everyone here as audience and those who would see this video later on, remain tuned into our session. And thank you and bye bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you.
And viewers, if you have not already subscribed to our channel, kindly subscribe, make comments, be heard, be visible, and raise your concerns. Also, give us feedback about the discussion on particular subject you wish. We will be happy to accommodate that subject will bring the expert speaker, and it is our continuous pursuit of bringing excellent content to you, because we believe in professionalizing the professionals. Remain happy, remain secure, and remain safe. God bless you. Thank you very much for joining.